On this week's show, I'm sitting down with Jason Zook. If you don't know Jason, he started in online business over 10 years ago with a wacky idea called iWearYourShirt that he turned into a business generating over $1 million. He has since written books, launched online courses, coached hundreds of other entrepreneurs, and created a software company, all with his unique edge. If Jason Zook is doing something, I can guarantee you he is doing it differently than everybody else. In today's show, he and I are digging into online courses. What makes a great course versus one that flops? Is the infopreneur market too saturated? How he and Caroline, his incredible wife, have created and sold over 30 courses between them. And then we're diving into Teachery. Jason is the founder of Teachery, an online course software platform. And it's the platform that I have used myself for years to deliver my courses, my membership, and all of my digital products. And I wanted to get him on the show to speak about how Teachery stands out against the competition, what makes it a great platform to use as a course creator, and what's coming up with their company. That's all on today's show, so stay tuned. You're listening to the Passive Project Podcast, where we talk about how to build your online business to make more income, more impact, and give you more freedom in your life. I'm Gemma Bonham-Carter, business strategist, mom of two, lover of passive income, automation, and coffee. Welcome to the podcast. Guys, I am so excited to welcome a very special guest to the show today, Jason Zook. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. Do you ever intro that with not a special guest? Like, I could just see you saying,
welcome to our very unspecial, very ordinary guest today.
Let's just set the tone. You know, I just want everyone to have super low expectations so that from now moving forward, you're like, okay, this guy might say one thing in however long this is. That's good enough, you know?
Well, I am genuinely very excited to have you on the podcast because I have been following your work for a long, long time. I don't actually even know when you launched your software program Teachery, but I feel like I like to tell myself I was an early adopter, and I've been using it for a long time. And everybody who is a student or client of mine knows that I talk about Teachery all the time.
Yeah, and I super appreciate that. I mean, Teachery started as kind of an off-the-cuff idea in 2013 and then became an actual product in 2014. And I think, if memory serves, you were probably around 2015-ish time.
I think around there.
It was somewhere around there, which is crazy, right? I mean, you look at that now, it's 5 years ago. And then, the software internet world, it's 100 years. So.
Totally.
And as of recording this, we're actually, and I know we're going to talk a lot more about Teachery, but we're literally 2 months away from releasing this huge interface and brand redesign that my wife Caroline is doing. And it's just going to be night and day. People are going to log into Teachery and be like, what is this? It's going to be still as easy to use and you're going to know where everything is, but it's going to be just I'm excited, number one, but I'm also just really happy with what this is going to look like. And I think that's for anybody listening. It's it can take 5 years, for you to make anything and you to feel really excited and proud of it. So maybe that'll be a recurring theme as we chat and you ask me some questions, but just, it takes time to do these things, but super grateful for people like you who continue to share Teachery because, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, I've never marketed it. I've never advertised it. That's actually been a goal, was to grow it without doing all of the things that all the other course platforms have done. So yeah, we can get into the nitty gritty of more of that.
And later. That is what a true statement of you as a business owner, just doing things differently from everybody else, which I think is part of the reason, that you have such an incredibly loyal following. Is we all love and appreciate you for just that reason. So I would love, as just to start off the conversation, for those who aren't familiar with your work, can you give just the Coles Notes, the Coles Notes version?
Yeah, so I'm most well known for a project called iWearYourShirt, which I won't go into great detail. There's lots of articles and interviews and people can listen to stuff on that if they're interested. It no longer exists anyway, but it was a fun 5 years in the internet world of, I kind of saw social media influencer as a thing before it was a thing. And so I started this in 2008, ended it in 2013. Unfortunately, I ended it with $100,000 in debt and was stressed out and overweight. And I just had to figure out a better way to live. But the entire principle of the project was film a YouTube video every day, film a live show every day, promote a company on social media every day. We see this now, and of course, it makes total sense. But I did this in 2008, 2009, before any of these platforms were really big. And so I worked with over 1,600 companies. I grew that company to 1.2 million in total revenue. But as I mentioned, ended up $100,000 in debt, which sucked. And from there, actually right towards the end of that, my mom went through a divorce. Unfortunately, it was her third divorce. So I'd never had an attachment to my last name. And I kind of just fell into this idea of, well, my mom's going through a divorce. I don't want the last name that I had. What do I do? And I just kept thinking about it, and I kept having this idea in the back of my mind. I was like, what if I sold my last name? Like, I've sold the shirt that I've worn for years. I had sponsored road trips and all these other challenges. And so I put up a website, buymylastname.com. It was an auction for 30 days. So shockingly, the domain was available. And the auction ended at $45,000 for the first time that I sold my name. And so it was just like a year, if you want to think about it, leasing my last namespace. So my last name was legally headsets.com with the D-O-T's, C-O-M spelled out. So I did that for 2 years. And then in that process, I sat down with a friend of mine, and I was in a really kind of a weird place. I had this debt for my iWearYourShirt. I had to shut that business down. My identity felt tied to it. I did this last name thing, which kind of buffered some cash, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And he was like, you got to write a book. Like, you've done all this weird stuff. And this is like 2013. So we still have 7 years of beyond that. But I thought about it. I was like, okay, maybe I could write a book about what I've learned as an entrepreneur and just messing up and, all the things. But I got to do it differently. As you mentioned, like, this isn't always my thing. And people listening to this, I think, will already just be like, okay, what's he going to do next? So I was like, what if I had a sponsor on every page of the book? Like, I'd never seen that before. And I didn't want it to be like an ad, like an image, like coupons or anything stupid like that, but just like a little like Twitter length message of a sponsor. And so I spun up a website, as I always do, very literal, sponsormybook.com. And I emailed it to a list of, I think I had 600 people on my email list at the time, and said, hey, here's this project. I want to write a book, but I don't want to get a publisher involved. I don't know anything about that. Everyone's telling me I can't make money writing a book. Would you sponsor a page in the book and just have your message? And I used the pricing model that made iWearYourShirt so fun. Was it was $1 on the first day, $2 on the second day, $3 on the third, and it had this incremental growth. And so I did the same thing for the pages in the book, except it was
so if
$3.
you bought like 5 pages, 10 pages, whatever.
Yeah, they all went up because I just figured well, actually I did the reverse of it. So the first page of the book was $600, and I figured I'd write a 200-page book. So the last page of the book was $3.
Right.
So it was just like, people's attention span in a book. Anyway, the pricing of all of that, it kind of fell apart a little bit because people just were like super confused. And eventually I just started saying like, pay what you want.
Right.
But I sold the 204 sponsors of that book, the pages, the covers and everything, and made $75,000 before ever writing the book itself. Wow. I just said, I'm going to write a book. Do you want to sponsor it and see what it's like? And that was, again, an email list of 600 people. Now, granted, I had some following on social and I promoted it there as well, but it's pretty powerful to have a small email list. And we can talk more about the power of small email lists. But yeah, so I went on from there and then wrote the book, kind of got through all that, and came to this point in 2014 where I was like, okay, enough with the crazy ideas. These are too hard to keep up with. It's too hard to explain most of them. It's really hard to convince people to buy these really nebulous things. What can I do that's just a little bit easier? And I kept getting these questions from people who would email me and go, Jason, love these projects you've done. How do I get sponsors? Like, how can I get a sponsor just for my blog or just for my YouTube channel or for an event that I'm running? And I kept thinking about it and I was like, well, I've learned a lot. Like, I've now worked with almost 2,000 total sponsors at that time with the book and the iWearYourShirt project and other things. And I was like, let me just write down everything I know for people. And so I started writing it all down. And the more that I was writing, the more I found I could share more. And I think you know this very well. Like, when you know something, when you have experience, when you have a skill in something that you've learned over a long period of time, there's a lot of stuff that that seems simple on the surface, but for anybody else, it's not that. And so I started writing these things out and I was like, oh, I should turn this into a course. I've seen other people making courses. I could probably make a course. And that led me into selling my first course, which then led to 30 total courses after that, building a course platform, as you talked about, then selling my future, which is a whole weird thing, which led into the business I run with my wife called Wandering Aimfully now. And I think that's kind of like as condensed as I can do it with a whole bunch of other weird stuff in there too.
So so that first course, I didn't actually realize that your very first course
Yeah.
was was it called like sponsor your stuff or
How to get sponsorships.
how
Yeah.
to get
Again,
sponsorships?
super literal, super literal.
And yeah, what an incredible story. So 30 plus courses you have launched since then.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I lump Caroline's courses in there with me because we've
Okay.
literally combined everything now. So I think together we have 30. I think maybe by myself I have 15 or 18 or something like
Okay.
that. I just stopped counting at this point because, I don't have like a wall of courses in my house where I'm like, check another one out. But it is, I really do love this idea of, and I believe this, it used to be on the homepage of Teachery until another course platform stole it, which is everybody has a skill to teach. So we
Hmm.
all know something.
Yes.
There's something that we have all really gotten into, we're really excited about, or we know a lot about because we've had a lot of experience. And the way that I figured out the first course to make, which I think is a lot of people's most difficult thing when they get into online courses, is what topic do I teach? And for me, I was just looking at all the people asking me questions and then going, well, yeah, I do know a lot about that. So I should teach that thing because people are asking me about it. And I genuinely like talking about it too. Like I think there's, I've made a couple courses of things that I've shut down almost immediately because I thought they were a good idea at the time. And then I start to attract the customers for that course. And I'm like, ooh, no, there's a lot of at AOL email addresses signing up. There's a lot of people who I just don't want to help. And I'm not a good fit for them and where they are in their journey. So I just need to shut that down and move on.
So can we dive into just that a little bit more? Given that you've created and launched and sold so many different courses, both you and your wife, Caroline. And for those of who maybe don't know Caroline, she's an incredible artist, and a lot of her courses centered around her art and teaching people different sort of fine art skills
Yep.
and branding and that kind of thing. But what would you say, like, have there been trends in courses that have done sort of exceptionally well versus ones that have, I don't want to use the word flopped because
Oh no,
maybe.
yeah, use the word flop. Fail. I would even say failed, if you will. I mean, I've never had a course, quote unquote. To me, fail would be like no one bought it, right?
Hmm.
And I think the reason for that is, and this is where a lot of people make the mistake in the online course world or any digital product or any business at all, is you get really excited about the thing, you make the thing, and then you try and sell the thing without ever telling anyone that it exists.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest mistake that people make is the pre-marketing for especially courses or digital products is almost as important, if not more important, than the thing itself. Like the thing itself needs to deliver, and you need to teach someone skills, and you need to have concise information that people can walk away from. But for me, every time I make a course with Caroline or without Caroline, it's about defining, okay, I've got a plan for this course. I'm going to make it. But the first thing I want to do is I want to start talking about it and see if people are really interested. So I
Hmm.
want to write a blog post, or I want to send some emails about it, or share some stuff that I've learned on Twitter and see what the response is like. And if people are kind of genuinely excited about that, then I know, okay, I'm onto something. Like let's keep working on this. And then the second thing becomes, well, I'd like to pre-sell this. I'd like to sell this course to make sure that just the kind words via email and Twitter, I can't pay my rent with those. I can't go to my landlord and go, hey, 6 tweets today, 6 really positive about this idea that I had. Can we just call it even with those tweets? It doesn't work that way. You have to have money, and so we will always pre-sell whatever we're making. So that's been a trend for me forever, which is for a couple weeks leading up, 3 to 4 weeks at least, I'll be talking about a thing, and by talking about it, I mean sharing helpful tips, sharing takeaways that people can use immediately, and trying to get them to either tell me that they want more or to just be ready to buy if I'm ready to put it up for sale.
Yeah.
So then putting it up for sale is just as simple as it can be sales page. Sometimes I've used Gumroad and just put up a Gumroad product and said, pay for this thing. Other times I've gone as far as to build a skeleton version of the course. I'm very fortunate I have a course platform that makes it easy to do that, and I know how to do this. But even in the beginning, I would just design something really simple and just have placeholder information and say, this course is coming. But in my mind, I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to open up pre-sales for a week. And if I don't hit X low goal, because I always set a low goal and a high goal, whether it's a pre-sale, a big launch, whatever it is. And if I don't meet the low goal, then I just refund everybody who bought and I move on. And
Yes.
luckily, I've never had to do that. And I think it comes down to doing good pre-marketing, getting people interested, knowing you're attracting the right people, and having enough time. So many people will start to launch a course and they'll be like, okay, for 2 weeks, I'm going to talk about it. And it's just not enough time. You're not getting enough information out there. You're not reaching enough people unless you have a really big audience already, that you're going to attract people to this and give them enough value that they feel like they trust you to buy.
Yeah, there's just not much enough of a runway. And the other
Yeah.
thing about pre-selling is that in my experience, and I teach, when I teach new course creators, this is exactly what I get them to do as well.
Hmm.
Always pre-selling, and it gives you the motivation to actually then go and
100%.
produce the course. Like if you've had no dollars coming through the door, like your motivation level to create incredible lessons or worksheets or whatever it might be is pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how I felt when I sold my first How to Get Sponsorships course, but I remember how Caroline and I felt when she sold her first hand lettering course, which was $20. And the first sale, we both like almost did backflips in our
Yeah,
office because it was just that moment where you realized, oh, someone is willing to pay for this. It's not just people cheering you on and being excited for you. And that stuff is great. But when someone actually makes the purchase, that's where you, just like you said, you get that motivation, you get that excitement. So that's why pre-selling is such an important thing for me too, is because it really shows me, okay, there is interest in this. I'm setting this low goal of maybe it's like $5,000 in pre-sales. I don't need a ton for me to know, but I just want something that tells me that there are interested people. And so what that gives you is it also gives you a group of people. It's kind of like your beta group, but they
hmm,
are people who are like opted in financially. They're not just people who are like, I'll look at a thing for free and then, forget about it 2 weeks later.
exactly.
There are people who paid for it and then they want to give you feedback. They're really interested. They're going to do some work with it. So that becomes really helpful. And then from there, it just becomes, okay, now what's the plan for this course? And every single course that I've gone through, it's deciding, is this course evergreen? Is this course a launch course where I open it up a couple times? Is this course one that I'm working on with someone else and we have to figure out a schedule and a marketing plan together? And that gets a little bit interesting too. There's a lot of caveats and things there. But yeah, there's so many different factors that go into this. But that beginning process of kind of the ideation, the pre-marketing, the pre-selling, that is on rinse and repeat with every single course.
Hmm. So, for somebody who's sitting there who's been thinking about launching a course but just hasn't taken the leap yet, and the reason is because they're concerned that the market is saturated. They see other people in their niche, in their industry already with successful courses, and they feel like maybe there isn't space for them. What is it that you say to those people?
Yeah, this is like, to me it's the weirdest thing that people get hung up on, because you have your own stories, you have your own experiences, and you have your own personality. And that is something that those three things are the things that no one can compete with. And yes, someone may have a slightly similar story, or they may have a slightly similar personality, or they may have slightly similar experiences, but together, all like the sum of all those parts is unique. And the perfect example for this is Caroline's branding course that she built. I mean, I guess I could talk about some of my own courses, but Caroline's are coming to mind for me for some reason. But she built this branding course many years ago, and there were plenty of branding courses that were available. And I remember having these conversations with her while we're doing it. It was like, hey, it's okay that these other ones exist, because to me, the way I've always looked at competition is it's just proof that there is product market fit for that thing. There
Right.
is interest. People are spending money on it. The thing you should be worried about is if you want to make a course on, let's say, branding for some reason, and there are no branding courses. There's like one on Udemy and it looks really sketchy. And you have to figure out from there, okay, why are there not that many? Are people not willing to spend money on this? What does this look like? And that's not really going to be the case nowadays. Like there's a course on everything nowadays. Like we're now in this time where people have figured out that online courses are a thing and they're a great way to make money and to build businesses and to deliver value, which I think is the most important thing of a course.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really about figuring out those three parts. So, what do you know, or what have you learned that is probably unique to you? What's your story? What can you put in there that someone can relate to, that they can feel like, oh yeah, I am watching videos on how to make a logo or whatever, but I'm also hearing this person talk like a human. And I think
Yeah.
that's one recurring theme across all of my courses, all the years I've been doing this, that people have just enjoyed, probably yourself included, is I put myself in these products. So you're not just listening to a teacher standing in front of a podium boring you to death with to-dos and action items and lessons. You're listening to a human talk and share and bring stories and metaphors, and that becomes the difference. That
Hmm.
becomes what makes your branding course in a sea of sameness of other branding courses stand out and be something people want to buy.
Yeah. And the more that you can like zig when people are zagging, I think it really helps you stand out in the marketplace, especially if you were, let's say, in a niche like health and wellness or something where there are so
Yeah.
many similar type things. So, um, Okay, let's talk about Teachery.
Sure.
So, so Teachery is your software platform that you guys created. Tell me about how that even came to be.
Yeah, so this is it's a fun little quick story. So in 2014, when I sat down, or maybe it's 2013, when I sat down to make the How to Get Sponsorships course, the years are a little bit hazy back then, but I decided to make this course after getting all those emails, writing down all the information. So I had all this stuff in a Google Doc, and I was like, okay, what course platform will I use for this? And again, 2013, like we're not talking about now where there's like 100 of them to look at. So I started looking around, and like they're all ugly and they all were really hard to customize, or it was like a WordPress plugin. And I'm like, I don't want, this course to be a WordPress plugin I have to manage and all that stuff. And so I just literally, I just said to myself, I'm just going to design what I think a course should look like. I'm just going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to give myself 4 hours of time and I'm just going to go for it. So I did that. I had a bunch of tabs open. I'm designing, I'm doing things, and I get this final look and I'm like, yeah, I think this looks good. I think this is a good way to represent information. So let me see what it would cost to have someone build this for me, for myself, not as a course platform, just for my own course.
Right.
So I emailed a couple of friends who were developers, and one guy was like, yeah, I could probably do that this weekend and probably for like 2,000 bucks. And I'm like, oh, 2,000 bucks is a lot, but maybe I could get some pre-sales of this course and that'll help me. So this was before I knew like my strategy of selling. So I literally sent out an email to my list. I was like, hey, I've been talking to you guys about this course. Like, would anybody want to buy it? I'm opening up, like, I think I said like 5 pre-sale spots. And they were half price. So it was like 250 bucks because the course was going to be $500. And they sold like that. I mean, the first couple, were gone. And so that actually gave me the cash to go, great. Now these people basically paid for this developer to make this course. So started that. And the developer built basically a really fancy WordPress site for this.
Okay.
And so the site was built and I sent it to a couple of friends and said, hey, I'm putting this course together. Like, what do you think of the content? How does it look? How do you learn something from when you go through it? And every single person, I think I sent it to 10 people. Every single person wrote back, yeah, the content's fine. What course platform is this?
Right.
And I had this moment where I was sitting I remember sitting on my couch on my laptop reading these emails going, hold on a second. Maybe there's something here. Maybe this problem that I found is a problem that other people have too, where there's not a course platform that lets you brand and customize your course and do all these things. And so I was like, okay, well, how can I build this? I don't have time for that right now. Let me just kind of set that aside and let me sell this sponsorships course. So I started doing that and doing all the things to build revenue with that. Because again, like I was coming off of these projects that were crazy and hard to do. And while they generated revenue, it wasn't enough. And so I was trying to get like somewhat of an easier revenue funnel going, if you will, from this course. And I did. I did some live webinars. And again, this is 2013. So we're talking like before everybody just started doing this like crazy. And so I did like Facebook ads to webinars and all this crap. And, I was getting consistent revenue, but I also was just kind of feeling like I was just selling all the time and I didn't love it. So I went to this conference and there was a developer who came up to me and was like, Jason, I've been following your work for years. Like, I really like what you're up to. If you ever have a project that you need a developer for, I'd love to help out. And my mind was like, ding.
Ding.
Like, I do have this project that I don't know how to do anything with, but someone, people like. And so that was Gerlando, who used to be my co-founder of Teachery for 6 years. And we built the first version of Teachery. I think it took like 3 weeks because just neither of us had any idea what we were doing. And I sent out a tweet, and that was how I got our first customers, which was, does anybody want to try out this course platform I'm building? It's probably terrible. But if you want to use it for free, I'll literally give you an account for life for free. And I think I had like 20 people respond to that. And, of course, it's free for life. Like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
And I think 2 people still use Teachery from that time, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, 6 years later. So we had this first version. We found all these bugs, all these things, all this stuff. But that was the beginning of how Teachery started. And I had never worked in software. I still don't know anything about code. But I just had this idea for this way of having a course set up. And now your folks who are in your courses know that framework was literally what I designed in Photoshop, in 4 hours, and then built into a WordPress site, and then eventually became what Teachery is and what will become in the future.
And it's really something when my students log in to whether it's our membership or like I run everything on Teachery. So I have a membership that's on Teachery. I have online courses, those are on Teachery. And I even have smaller scale, like $27 type digital products. And they're on Teachery. Like that, I don't have to go choose some other platform. It's all there. And that's actually one thing that I love is then when somebody has bought something from me, that even that $27 product, if they then go and buy anything else from me, whenever they just log into Teachery, it's just all showing up there for them. And I really
Hmm.
appreciate that. But one of the first things that people often say to me is, I love the look of your course, or I love the look of the membership. And it's so clean and minimalist. And they really appreciate kind of the aesthetics.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that like you do such a great job. Like you're such a good example of someone who uses a piece of software and goes, okay, but how can I make this my own? You know, like
mhm.
you've given me a framework, but I want to customize it. I want to remove some of these things. I want to do this stuff, or I want to use it for digital products, and I can figure that out. You're the type of person I love working with when it comes to teaching because you're just going to go figure stuff out, and then you're going
Yeah.
to email me and go, hey Jason, I'm trying to do this, this, and this. Can I do that in Teachery? And like two of them, I'm like, I don't even know how we would do that. But the other one, I'm like, yeah, we can figure that out. And we really try and do that with customers to try and help people figure out, because we're a course platform first. We're not a digital product thing. We're not a
Mhm.
membership site thing. But you can do all of that if you're willing to figure it out. And I
For
think that
sure.
that's where people actually have the most success when they sell courses, digital products, etc. Is not when you try and go, how do I build a course the way that everyone tells me how to build it? It's how do I build it so it helps my audience learn the thing I want to teach? Nothing
Exactly.
else matters.
No, as
So
long as you're really results driven, that guides
exactly.
all the decision making.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that's really fun. And what we're really excited about is the next phase of Teachery. We haven't talked about this publicly, but I'll share it with you because I'm starting to share little things here and there is we're going to have one-click course templates moving forward. So going back to like a branding example, we're just going to make a branding course. So it's going to be 8 lessons. It's going to be branded in like kind of generic, nice branding that Caroline's going to do. And she's a phenomenal designer. So it's going to look great. And then you as a person, if you sign up for teaching, you're like, yeah, I'm a brand designer. I want to teach a brand course. You one click, the course is created. And then throughout all the lessons in the course, it's just going to tell you this lesson is about logo design. This lesson, and you can change and tweak whatever you want, but it literally gives you like a full blown course that you can just add your own content into and you're done. And the
Wow.
goal is that we're trying to, you know, again, zig when other people are zagging, do things differently. Most other course platforms aren't built by course creators.
Right.
So they're built by people who want to make money because they see online courses as an industry makes money. We don't necessarily like, we want to make money obviously, but we don't care about, you know, having some huge amount of revenue. We just want to make it so easy for online course creators to make courses. So we're really excited. That's probably going to be like a late summer fall feature after we get kind of the new interface and brand done. But that's our goal, is we want to make it as frictionless as possible. We want to keep minimal aesthetics, so we don't want it to be overly branded with our stuff. We also don't want to lock you into some crazy structure that just feels kind of weird. Like I've looked at other course platforms recently, which I never do, but I did. We have been doing it recently because of this interface redesign, and I'm like, I don't even understand how to make a course in some of these. Like,
Yeah.
there's too many steps. Just give me a template and just tell me where things need to go so that I can go about my business of marketing and selling and promoting and then helping people learn this stuff.
And the tech is actually often what gets people really hung up is like they just,
Totally.
that's the piece that really stands in their way. It's the big obstacle to them getting their thing out there, when in actual fact that should be the thing that's the easiest, that shouldn't even be a concern, because those other pieces of actually producing a course that does get people results, collecting testimonials, getting it out there, doing the marketing, doing the sales, building up the brand recognition for that course, those are the harder things. Like the tech
Totally.
shouldn't be the hard piece.
Yeah, and it's like someone like you, you're a great example for Teachery, right? You shout Teachery to the rooftops because it doesn't hold you back from doing what you want to do.
Mhm.
So what we've done intentionally is try and make Teachery customizable and you know, tweakable, and you can do a bunch of stuff to it so that then you can go and tell everybody that you know, hey, go use Teachery. You're like, yeah, there's Teachable. They have a staff of 100 people now, and you know, all this funding and all this stuff, and that's great, but also their courses just kind of look like crap. And then you have Podia, where their courses look amazing. It's just beautifully designed. But I've tried to make a course, and I'm not trying to like shit talk any other platforms, but it's really difficult. Like I wish they would just say like, here's a course, that go fill in things.
Right.
And that's again where we're just trying to make the choices that we're making so that people like you can go use Teachery. The tech is not going to slow you down. You don't have to install anything. You don't like, you just have to go in and plug in all of your stuff that you want
Yeah.
to teach and just make it simple. And then I think that's the other really big thing. And I know that you probably preach this as well to your people, which is start with the simplest, best version of your course where it's just like one payment page, one price. Nothing is automated. You don't do all these fancy things. And then once you start selling your course, then figure out how to create some type of evergreen funnel. Then try and figure out how to create some type of automated stuff that's fancy and helps people even more. But we see so many people get stuck, and they'll email me and they'll say, how do I do this, and this? And I'll go, how many people have you sold your course to? And it's like 4 people.
Yeah.
I'm like, why
Not
are
there
you
yet.
trying to do all of this? You're not there yet. You don't have the problem of this course being good enough and selling enough consistently to worry about that stuff. Let's get that part figured out, which is your email list you need to build, your content plan of whatever that looks like, whether it's articles or podcast or videos or social. Then do all the fancy stuff that you want to do. But I've made plenty of money off of courses over the years, and I've barely had any fancy stuff. And I think people would be shocked at how much manual effort goes into the stuff that we do, because I'm just not willing to spend all the mental tax and hours and money to automate everything when I can just like, okay, how many customers am I possibly going to get? 50 for whatever I'm selling? I can go in and add things to them manually. It's fine. It's going to take me 1 hour. That's fine. I don't want a whole system that's going to break because I'm trying to do too much.
Yeah. That's something that I see all the time too. And again, like the tech of just setting up the course, they think they need all the tech of like the funnel build out
Oh my
or
gosh,
all
yeah.
of the back end systems that are going to link everything together. And we still do a lot of things manually in our business. And I have a couple of people on my team, and not everything is systemized. Like we just handle it the way we always have. So before we like wrap up the conversation, what other things would you say make Teachery kind of really stand out in the marketplace as being different from, not to like name drop all of them, but like the Teachable, Thinkific, Kajabi, Podia platforms out there? Why should somebody think about using Teachery instead?
Yeah, our goal with Teachery is we want to nail the course part of it. So we want that to be brandable and customizable and have it look like someone left your website, went into your course, and it didn't feel like such a huge departure.
Right.
Like, granted, it's not going to look exactly the same because we can't do that, but it's going to look close enough. And you're going to be able to feel like, yeah, that was a nice transition from that website to that thing. What we're not good at building landing pages. We're not going to compete with lead pages. I tell so many people, hey, don't use our landing page editor. It's very rigid. It's not flexible. If you can make it work, I'm all for it. I'm glad we have one page for people to use, but use Squarespace. Like, if your site is already built on Squarespace, please use a platform that makes hundreds of millions of dollars and has so many employees that they are knowing how to do everything.
Yeah,
easily
and you can do that on WordPress too.
Exactly. And all you have to do then is just on your buy button that you've designed, just link that to a Teachery payment page. And that's what we try and do really well, is we try and do the course process end to end. So someone buying, our payment pages are flexible, they're simple. We only use Stripe because PayPal is just a nightmare. And we use PayPal for our Wandering Aimfully membership, but we don't use it in Teachery because PayPal will not help you. And we've just made this decision that if you want to take PayPal payments, you can do it outside of Teachery, and we give you a help doc of how to bring people in. But we make a lot of those decisions on those types of features where we're just not willing to sacrifice working with a platform like PayPal that is just so unforgiving. Like, you cannot make a recurring subscription in PayPal where it can fire back to you and tell you when a payment has failed. So I'm not going to put our customers at risk of not knowing when their customers' payments are failing. And I know other platforms have figured out ways to do this. And what they do is they take the money from PayPal and they hold the money and then they manage it. And that's just scary to me. We're not going to do that. We don't want to touch your money. So anyway, super side tangent there, but we just really try and take care of the course part of it. So the branding, the simplicity, the easy click of buttons, having a framework built by course creators so that, put your intro text here, put your lesson title here, embed your videos here, add your lesson transcript, put your lesson resources here, fill out your payment page for someone to buy. You're done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Easy.
Don't have to think of all these other things and make all these decisions. Just build the thing and then spend all your time promoting and marketing. And then from there, I think one of the things that stands out, and I think you would agree to this too, is just customer service. I built Teachery. I care about our customers a ton. We don't do a lot of marketing and advertising for reasons. And one of those is I like to be able to respond to every customer. And I know that I'm not going to be able to do that forever, but right now I want someone to hear from me because I love when I hear from people at other services that I pay for. And it just makes me feel good to write back to people and then go, wait, is this Jason, like the founder of Teachery?
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, first of all, not special. Gemma already talked about this. But also, yeah, I want to help you. I want to be part of this journey with you. And I'll hop in your course page and I'll make sure your logo is sized correctly. I'll go pick some, like I just literally styled a woman's course the other day because she's not a designer and she had horrendous colors. And she was like, I know this doesn't look good. Can you help me? It took me 10 minutes to make her course look good because I've now worked, on hundreds of them or thousands of them in Teachery. But for her, she never would have been able to do that. And so
Mhm.
that's the type of stuff too that you're just going to get a hands-on approach and you're going to get someone who helps you because we're not trying to grow and scale like crazy. We're happy to stay a couple hundred paying customers, with an MRR that's not going to shock anybody, but it works for us. It works for you. It works for the
Mhm.
people who sign up and have a course that they love selling, an audience that wants to buy from them. And that's what we try and do.
Yeah. And I can speak to the incredible customer service. And even again, students and clients of mine who have then signed up for Teachery, they post inside of our Facebook group being like, OMG, Jason actually wrote me back. Like they can't actually believe it when I say that that's going to be the case. They don't believe that,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is true.
Yeah.
So no, I can attest to that for sure. So if people want to sign up for Teachery and start their first online course and get going with it, what are the payment options that you guys offer?
Yeah, so right now I'm not sure when this is going to go out, but we're in kind of a weird, uncertain time, which we haven't
Okay.
touched on with kind of all the coronavirus and COVID-19 stuff. We just put up on the homepage as a little pop up as you scroll down the site, and I don't love those things, but I felt like this one was important. If you're someone who wants to sign up for Teachery, we will extend your trial until you get a sale. So whether that's in 4 weeks, our normal trial, free trial is 2 weeks, whether that's 6 weeks, whether that's 6 months, we'll just keep extending your free trial. So all you have to do is just sign up, start building your course, try and get some sales for it. Use the plan that we talked about earlier in this, and I'm
Hmm.
sure you have tons of resources for people to do that. But if you just need to have an extension, we'll keep extending, and you won't pay Teachery for as long as it takes for you to get your first sale. Because we know that right now, so many people are trying to pivot their businesses online, or they're
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to make an online course that they've been sitting on an idea forever. And we just want to help people feel like there's not a lot of pressure to start paying for a software, even though, to answer your question more directly, it's $49 a month. We're right in the ballpark. We have not changed our pricing since the beginning. We've continued to add features. We are not going to raise our prices. We think that they're super fair for what we offer. So $49 a month. There's no transaction fees. We work with
That's a
Stripe.
big one for everybody who's listening. No transaction fees. So it doesn't
Yeah,
matter how many students you sell to, there's never an extra percentage on that
yeah. I did the
$49.
math one year just because I wanted to, and I was looking at Teachable charged I think it was 3% transaction fees because Teachable's always been we've been the closest related because they named their company Teachable after we were Teachery, which Caroline was really pissed about. That's fine, it's no big deal. But I did the math, and it was like 1 month we would have made an extra $100,000. And I was like, okay, never looking at that again.
Yeah,
Never going to look at it again because that would make me make a decision to go, ooh, well, what if we did do, and I don't want to make money-based decisions. I want to make decisions where people feel like, yeah, $49 a month and I'm only going to pay the payment processor because we all have to pay those things to
hmm,
run this. Great. That's easy. That's a no-brainer. And we have an annual plan you can sign up for if you want to save. I think it's 2 months you end up saving if you sign up for annual. It's $470. And there is, I'll say this here because your people are awesome. There is a sneaky lifetime plan that's still behind the scenes that if you ask for it, if you've ever heard of it or you know about it, you can get access to it. And it's
come to
900
Gemma
bucks.
and I can give you
Yeah.
the secret,
Yeah.
super secret access.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can hook people up with that if they want. You can kind of route them through, and I'm happy to give you an affiliate commission for it. We don't preach affiliates. We don't try and push affiliates. We have an affiliate program. People want to use it. Again, we're just so not other platforms that are trying to do all these things. We just have the features we have. We try and be a really good platform. We try and be good people to other people. And I think we do a pretty good job, as you've said. And we have an affordable platform, and we're constantly trying to change it. I think that's the thing where if anybody's looked at course platforms for years, most of them never change.
That's
It's
right.
like one thing, they do some tweaks, they do some updates. I'll give Podia a lot of credit. They're probably the most beautiful, platform. Although I don't think it's easy to make a course, it's a beautiful platform. We're really trying to become what I hope is the easiest to use and most fun to look at,
Right.
which we've got some really fun things in store. But yeah, $49 a month, $470 a year, or the sneaky lifetime plan if you're interested in that. But please only do that if it fits your budget. I don't want anybody to extend themselves, especially right now. And then a free trial for as long as you need until you make your first sale. You just have to message in and ask for an extension, and we're happy to do that.
Amazing. So we'll make sure, guys, that all the links are with this episode so that you can get access to all of those. And I really encourage you, if you haven't already, to go check out Teachery and do that free trial and just see what it looks like behind the scenes. And you're going to see how incredibly easy it actually is to build out that course and maybe start that new revenue stream for your business. That idea that you've been sitting on, now there's like never been a better time to take your business online and start a new revenue stream like this. And I will say, like, we're in this crazy time with coronavirus. And I'm so grateful to have built the style of business that I have built. I've done lots of different things in the past. I've done businesses that had in-person services. I've done like workshop-based businesses. And the fact that at this moment in time, my business is entirely online and largely run by digital offers, there hasn't been, I haven't seen any kind of change in my revenue. In fact, my revenue's gone up this past month than it ever had before. So, just feeling like super thankful and grateful that I've set my business up this way. And if you haven't done it yet for yours, I really encourage you to think about it, and you're in the right place to get all the resources and tech support you need to do that.
Yeah, the one final thing I'll just say is everybody probably now who has money invested in the stock market and whatever, like we're all seeing that go down. And this is a really, I think, important moment in history for people to realize the fact that they can create their own wealth and their own wealth that can grow. And building a digital asset like an online course or a membership community or a product, it doesn't have to be your full-time gig. You can still do client work. You can still, do whatever you're doing, even work a full-time job. But please think about building a digital asset where you can kind of, in some ways, control your own wealth accumulation over time. And when I say wealth, I don't mean millions of dollars. I just mean making money from something with compounding interest, quote unquote. And when you own your own course, when you own all the marketing for it, when you can do all the work and see the return from it, you get a better exponential return than you can get in anything. And
That's
so
right.
I think that there's just something really interesting about where we are right now and people seeing these opportunities to move online. To me, this is not okay, how do I get rich with online courses? It's building something that continues to provide people value and give you revenue so that you don't feel beholden to the one business that you have, the 3 clients that you had that they're all thinking about leaving, the stock market, which is crashing. Like, you have to have something that you control. And just the diversification is such an important thing right now. And whether that's Teachery or any other platform, like, I don't care what you use. I just want people to start thinking exactly like you just said of, all right, maybe now is the time to do that. And I'm not going to hustle and, work myself to death right now because there's too much going on, but maybe I need to start. Like, maybe I need to kick the tires and write down the outline and start sending some pre-marketing emails and just get all of that going now so that I can keep building in the future.
That's right. Well, Jason, this is a super inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This episode is brought to you by Teachery. Teachery is the online course platform we use and love in our business and absolutely recommend it to you too. Sign up for your Teachery account through our affiliate link and we will send you a free graphics pack. The graphics pack includes plug-and-play graphics you can use to market your online course or membership. Our affiliate link is included in the show notes along with this episode.